Did you know that the infamous Custer's last stand wasn't just a military defeat? It was a complete disaster of arrogance, miscommunication, and brutal consequences? Most history books stop at Custer died, but the reality? The Battle of the Little Bighorn was worse than we thought. You probably learned that on June 25, 1876, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and his 7th Cavalry were wiped out by a coalition of Lakota Sioux, Northern Cheyenne, and Arapaho warriors. It's often portrayed as a brave last stand, a noble but doomed effort. But that's only part of the story, because what really happened was far more reckless than noble. Custer had just 600 men. He knew the native coalition could number into the thousands, but instead of waiting for reinforcements, he split his forces into 3 smaller groups, against the advice of his own scouts. Why? Well, Custer was chasing glory. He wanted a fast, decisive victory before the upcoming centennial celebrations. He underestimated the native warriors, overestimated his own strength, and disregarded nearly every military rule in the book. When Custer's detachment engaged the native encampment, they weren't just outnumbered, they were overwhelmed. Eyewitness accounts suggest the battle didn't last long. Soldiers tried to flee, many panicked. Custer never had a chance to dig in or regroup. And the Lakota and Cheyenne fighters? They were fighting for their families, their land, their way of life. This wasn't a fair fight, it was a rout. Within hours, over 200 of Custer's men were dead. But the US press twisted the narrative, painting Custer as a martyr, a hero killed by savages. In reality, it was the US that violated treaties, forcing native nations into impossible corners. The heroism of the last stand was used to justify even harsher military campaigns against the Plains tribes. This battle didn't slow the US expansion westward, it sped it up. Custer's last stand has become mythologized, but it was a cautionary tale about leadership failure, broken treaties, and the consequences of imperial ambition. And when we mythologize the people in power, we often ignore the real victims, those who fought for their survival and lost everything. It's not just a story from 1876, it's a story about what happens when arrogance overrides accountability. So, yeah, Custer's last stand, it wasn't just worse than you thought. It was the turning point that justified a brutal crackdown on Native Americans across the West. If you learned something new, hit that like button. It really helps. And if you want more breakdowns of historical myths versus reality, don't forget to subscribe.